Exactly 1 month after the death of George Floyd, the House passes an expansive police overhaul bill honoring his name. The George Floyd Justice in Policing Act of 2020 passed as legislators respond to the nationwide calls to address police brutality and racial injustice in this country. Let's head over to our M. Wynn in Capitol Hill. She joins us now. M, good morning again. The bill actually got several Republican votes, didn't it?
It absolutely did. You know, all 233 Democrats voted in favor of the bill, but there were also 3 moderate Republicans who also voted in favor with the majority, and that includes a Texas Republican, Will Hurd, who says after his vote that he knows it wasn't a perfect bill, but that it was a step in the right direction, a step forward to what he called, quote, much needed reform. So the vote was actually 236 to 181 to approve one of the most ambitious federal interventions into law enforcement in decades. The bill, spearheaded by Los Angeles Democrat Karen Bass, would take away the legal shield for police officers and departments from lawsuits. It would also make prosecuting officers easier, ban chokeholds and no-knock warrants, and create a national registry to track police officer misconduct. But while few Republicans, like we mentioned, did agree with the provisions and that they could bring positive change, most GOP members criticized Democrats for opposing GOP amendments and not approaching the bill in a bipartisan manner. California Republican and House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy slammed the majority for never consulting with the minority party in the creation of the bill. He also blamed Democrats for the riots and vandalism seen across the nation as protesters try to pull down historic statues in the name of justice and reform. Now, Democrats like Los Angeles Representative Nanette Barragán says the bill is about human rights, not politics, and pointed to the death and recent death of the 18-year-old Latino in her district. The teen was shot 6 times in the back by police, and we caught up with Barragán after the vote last night. Take a listen.
We need to stop police brutality. We need to put an end to racial profiling. We need to put an end to chokeholds. And we need to give justice to those like George Floyd, those like Breonna Taylor, and even in my very own district, where we had a young Latino kid, 18 years of age, shot in the back by police, Andres Guardado.
While we stall serious reform, allies in the left-wing mob are engaging in looting, destruction, and violence, attacking people, property, and public monuments to American heroes. They don't want peace, justice, or reform. They want destruction, upheaval, and most of all, control.
McCarthy says he had reached out to the Congressional Black Caucus to work together and says he still wants to work together. He says the bill is overreaching, though, into policing with provisions that would never pass the Senate and where the White House has already threatened to veto. Over in the Senate, Democrats say Republicans need to negotiate a more expansive package before trying to come to the floor again. And the GOP bill wouldn't ban chokeholds or no-knock warrants. It would, though, encourage education about racism and encourage departments to change practices and training, but would not alter qualified immunity, the doctrine that shields officers from lawsuits. And so right now, even as we hear from hundreds of thousands of protesters all across the nation demanding action for racial justice and reform for policing and police brutality, it looks like here on Capitol Hill, congressional leaders are pretty much in a stalemate on this issue. Giselle.
So what happens then next, Em? I mean, is it dead then on arrival in the Senate? And then where are we?
So as of right now, Senate leaders are saying it's dead on arrival. It doesn't matter if it passed the House with bipartisan support. It's dead on arrival in the Senate. And right now, the Senate had tried to introduce their own bill, was blocked by Senate Democrats. That means it's going to be difficult to move forward with negotiations. Speaker Nancy Pelosi did mention that if the Senate had passed a bill of their own and the House passes a bill of their own, they could go to what is called a conference committee. And in that case, there would be members from both sides of the aisle and both chambers, the Senate and the House. They would discuss their disagreements and try to come to a bipartisan agreement on policing reform. But right now, the Senate hasn't passed a bill. The House passed theirs, but it seems like it's going to be dead on arrival in the Senate. So it looks like negotiations are going to be very difficult and very long and time-consuming moving forward.